sister, I see.
Salam alaikum. This is Aisha Al-Hajar from AMANI Birth, and I am here with Saving Lives Today, AMANI Birth in the Gambia. I'm here with Sister Selma, an AMANI Birth teacher and doula who has a heart for all things Gambian related. She wants to help bring knowledge to the mothers in the Gambia. And Brother Sekuba, who is our first AMANI Birth Gambian father, and we want to welcome both of you today. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam rahmatullah. Thank you, Aisha.
You're welcome.
So today's topic, it's going to be about the benefits of breastfeeding for both mother and baby immediately after birth. Yes.
Great. So that's a really big topic. So let's let Brother Sekuba just announce the topic.
Assalamu alaikum, bari mon kalbi konto. Bi aku kacha bi kele minte wala mu susundiro ala anala tine ba mal ani dingo fa.
Okay, so we'll talk about the benefits of immediate breastfeeding. So the first thing that I want to say about immediate breastfeeding is, some practices, the baby's born, they cut the cord right away. We talked about some of the dangers of that the other day, and they take the baby away from the mother, to weigh the baby, to bathe the baby, to get the baby all dressed up and whatever. Uh-oh, we got a baby. We got our AMANI baby having a fuss in the background again. Where is she? All right. So we know that some hospital practices are to immediately clamp and cut the umbilical cord, take the baby away, bathe it, weigh it, give it shots, examine it, do everything away from the mother. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Did
you follow Brother Sekuba?
I am struggling to hear. The internet connection on my side is not very great. I'm not really hearing. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's fine now. I can hear you now.
Many hospital practices. Good.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge that many hospital practices immediately remove the baby from the mother for bathing, for weighing, for examination. They take the baby away from the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that?
Okay.
Can you repeat?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. I come in for them coming inside the Bama Blute by la Tomado say Bama in Samba ko iba pesa lale anin ku kotangolu luptanot.
All right. With these practices, we are depriving the mother and the baby.
Are we okay?
We are okay. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can hear you well.
So with these practices, what we're doing is we're removing the baby from the mother, and we are making it impossible for the immediate breastfeeding to take place. Are you having a hard time hearing today? I do. I can hear you. You can't hear me today? We're having a problem with Brother Sekuba. He's not able to hear us today. Perhaps we're going to have to continue in English.
I think there's a bit of delay in the... Yeah, all right, that's fine.
Okay. So these practices are denying the mother and baby of their immediate right to breastfeed and the immediate need to breastfeed. Yeah. And this is super important for the mom and for the baby. First of all, for the mother. Okay, so first of all, when we deny this from the mother and the baby, what we're doing is we're increasing the rates of postpartum hemorrhage for the mothers.
I think I have problem with my Wi-Fi, so that could be part of the problem. I'm using my internet, my phone's data, so that could be the problem. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no problem. We'll just run with English.
Yeah,
we can just run with English because
I will have to let you guys go if it is not really going to work.
That's okay. We appreciate your attempt. We appreciate your presence. Thank you, brother.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah. Okay. So we are denying them that right to immediately breastfeed. Now this could be increasing postpartum hemorrhage rates in that mother, because the mother is no longer, the mother doesn't have the stimulation of the breast, which causes hormones that cause the uterus to contract. The uterus contracting is super important because that reduces the postpartum bleeding. So we have an increased risk of postpartum hemorrhage for the mother. For the baby, we're taking the baby away when his very strongest instinct is to find the breast. Yes. And so we've got a baby over in a box going, where's my mom? Where's my mom? And what you're doing is you're bringing the baby into the world and placing them into an immediate state of cataclysmic stress. So their first initial introduction to the world is one of stress and fear. And this isn't what it should be for that baby. And in fact, we are changing the psyche of the whole psyche of a baby and their whole ability to bond with their mother and to function in a community when we start taking them away from their mothers right away. And
tapping in to their instincts, like you said.
Right. And that immediate birth experience is going to matter for a lifetime. And we already know that in our African communities, whether we're talking Africa, or even African American communities, we have higher levels of stress amongst our dark-skinned people. Yes. And part of this, when we're setting this up with immediate birth when we take those babies away, So it's really important that we don't introduce the baby into the world in a state of cataclysmic stress. You don't want that to be the baby's initial understanding of the world, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, the sooner we initiate breastfeeding, the more successful breastfeeding is likely to be. And breastfeeding is an issue of global health, because if babies are breastfed, they're healthier. We lose less babies in the first year if they're breastfed. We lose more who are not breastfed. And we keep more that are not breastfed in terms of loss of life. And even later into life, people who were breastfed are less likely to be obese or less likely to have issues like diabetes and heart disease. So chronic illnesses can be linked back to some degree as to whether or not a child was breastfed. And breastfeeding can, whether or not a mother and baby are successful in breastfeeding can be linked back to were they able to breastfeed in those immediate moments after birth. So we're talking about not just the immediate breastfeeding experience, but we're talking about, the success of a breastfeeding relationship. And then we're talking about long-term health for that person or even for that community. So it's a big deal.
And when you say immediate, you mean, as the baby is exiting the womb, they'll put the baby directly onto the mom, immediate skin-to-skin bonding to allow that baby to have its first moments with his mother and not away from the mother.
Exactly. And interesting, the babies are born with the instinct to find the breast. If you put the baby on mommy's tummy, the baby, minutes old, can crawl up and latch on and find a breast by itself, without any intervention, really, as long as the breast is available and the mother's available. The baby will go up there and find the breast. And the smell of the colostrum, which is the first milk that comes from the breast, is similar to the smell of the amniotic fluid. So the babies are able to find that, breast and find that colostrum because it's similar to what they were experiencing in the womb. And I know there's a lot of cultures that throw away that first milk and they replace the first milk with bottle feeding. And they're like, that first milk, because it's just a little bit and it's sticky and it's not much, it's not valuable. They'll throw it away. And I just want to cry because that first milk is liquid gold.
Yes.
It's called colostrum. It's a laxative that cleans out the sticky tar-like poo that's in the baby's bowels at birth. So it gets the baby's digestion going. It's very simple food that's broken down easily by the baby. It's all that they need. It's like a first vaccination or immunization for the baby. It provides tons of antibodies for the baby. You don't want the baby not to get that. You want the baby to have all the antibodies they can get. And it's directly related to the mother's environment. What environment is she living in? Her breasts are going to be making the antibodies for that environment, whatever's needed. So you want that baby to get that first milk. Like I said, we call it liquid gold. And you don't want the babies to have a bottle because the baby's tummy is like the size of a small little, pea. And all you want is colostrum. That's all his tummy can handle. And when we give a bottle, we tend to overfeed. So we give this formula milk, even in the hospital, we tend to overfeed. I see nurses all the time squeezing the milk into the baby's mouth and holding them up and forcing them to drink this milk. And it's way more than what they should have. And then what happens? We distend the tummy. Yes. And when you distend or stretch out the tummy, then you have a baby who has growing up, never has an understanding of what a normal full tummy is. And then as growing into adulthood, you have people who never have an understanding of being satisfied with the right amount of food. They're always overeating, So
and they're probably having good gut health. You know, that's one of the things also we talk about when babies are born via C-section, not having the mother's, you know, probiotics, vaginal flora to align their gut to create a good, healthy gut, you know, which a lot of people don't realize stem to a lot of other illnesses. So subhanAllah.
Right, exactly. So the immediate breastfeeding is not only a nice thing for mom and baby, it's a right for mom and baby. And by taking that away, we are setting mom and baby up for potential health harm, you know, and some of it's immediate, like mom potential harm, you know, postpartum hemorrhage. And some of it is more long-term and maybe not easy for us to link back to breastfeeding, but it really is linked back to whether or not they had that first breastfeed. So it's a huge deal whether or not we allow moms to immediately breastfeed or not. So our goal is that all babies are born, they go straight to the breast. That's where they belong, you know. And as medical people, we feel like we have to bathe them first. You don't have to bathe them first. You know, we have to weigh them first. You don't have to weigh them. It's okay if you weigh them 5 hours later. They're not going to change that much, you know. Well, we have to examine them. Most of the most important exams, which is whether or not the baby's breathing, you know, you can do right there on mom's chest. You know, all the other stuff can be done later, you know, after the first breastfeed has happened. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, the first hour after birth, the baby's very alert and they're looking for the breast. Hours 2 to 4 or 6, the baby's comatose. It's normal for the baby to be like out like a light, you know, totally asleep and heavy and like not rousable from hours 2 to 6. And what do? We take the baby away in the first hour for all of our unnecessary routines, give the baby back to the mom when he's going into that deep sleep, and now we expect her to breastfeed. And of course she can't because the baby's so asleep, so they just give the baby a bottle and force squeeze the milk into his mouth. You know, because the baby's got to eat. Well, yeah, you should have let him eat in the first hour when he was alert and ready to eat. Because that hours 2 to 6, the baby's not supposed to be eating. He's supposed to be sleeping deeply. And then when he wakes up, he's alert again. You know, but we want to get that baby fed in those first couple hours, but we waste that first hour, you know, bathing him and weighing him. You know, so, you know, it's really important that we think about the logic of the procedures and why are we doing them and why are we doing it, the times that we're doing them, and they're interrupting such an important vital time in the child's life, and that's his beginning start. Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. Yeah. What advice would you offer a mother within like the first 40 days of doing her postpartum and bonding with her baby with breastfeeding?
Well, I would recommend that you have the baby, if not in bed with you, at least near you, so that you can, you know, be aware of every stir and every move. Let that baby feed on demand. Have the baby on the breast all the time. You know, babies are going to feed a lot. And at 2 weeks, by the way, 2 to 3 weeks, they have a growth spurt where they're nursing all the time, insatiably. Don't give in and give a bottle thinking you don't have enough milk. You need to nurse through these, what we call growth spurt periods, because that's going to stimulate the breast a lot because the baby's nursing a lot. That's what you want, so that your milk supply will keep up with the baby's growth. You know, so keep the baby with you. Baby wear that baby. I know African cultures are great at baby wearing. You guys wrap those babies up. You know, I see the videos of the African girls, and they just take a sheet and they wrap those babies up and wear them. That's beautiful. It's wonderful. You know, baby wear your babies, and, you know, keep them close to you always. And when they're baby wearing and they're close to you, they're at the breast, and it's very easy for them to breastfeed. You know, skip the pacifiers or dummies. I don't know what you call them in Gambia, but skip the artificial nipples. Don't give baby anything but your breast. You know, don't worry about pumping and putting it in a bottle. Like, just give your baby your breast for all his feeds.
I think there's a misconception with how much a baby should eat during the first 40 days. Like you said, between that 2 to 3 week period, there is a growth spurt. And some people miss this by thinking that they have to time the baby feeding schedule.
Right. Yeah, feed the baby on demand. You know, the baby will eat when the baby eats. And some babies will eat every 2 hours like clockwork. And some babies will eat in what we call cluster feed. They'll eat, you put them down, they'll eat again, you put them down, they'll eat again, and then they'll take a nice long nap, right? So they'll do all this feeding at one time, and then they'll take a nap. As long as your baby is growing and your baby is not lethargic, so that means he's not like, you know, like just limp and like has no muscle tone, that's a baby I'd be concerned about. But as long as your baby has good muscle tone, they're moving their hands, they're kicking their feet, they're, you know, a happy little guy that's, you know, that's growing and, you know, has good movement about them, I'm not too concerned about them. They should be having, of course, what goes in comes out. So, you know, in the very first days, we expect a lot of poopy diapers because, like I said, the colostrum, the first milk is a laxative. And you have that for about 4 to 6 days or so, maybe a week. usually between 5 days and a week, your white milk comes in, right? Your what we might call your real milk. That colostrum, though, in that first week is going to cause the baby to have lots of poopy diapers, and that's what we want to clear the system out. Once the sticky tar-like meconium is done, your baby should have a yellow poo. Very, very much like your hijab. Good job.
Yeah, mashallah.
a bright yellow poo, like mustard, and it might even be seedy. It might even look like there's little seeds in it.
Yes.
And that's perfect. That means a healthy, healthy gut flora, healthy breastfed baby. And once that first week is over and you go from colostrum to real milk, you should expect the amount of poopy diapers to decrease. We should still be seeing like 6 to 8 wet diapers every day. Some kind of output every day, whether it be wet or soiled. But you can expect that the amount of poo diapers to go down because you no longer have the colostrum. So that's fine. Some people think, oh, my baby's sick because he was pooing all the time. Now he's not. Like something's wrong. It's because it went from laxative to not laxative. So and the other thing I want to say too, a lot of women think that you breastfeed on one side 10 minutes, take the baby off, put him on the other side. We used to teach this, in years past, but we realized that's not beneficial. Keep the baby on the breast until he comes off on his own. This way, the baby's sure to get what we call foremilk and hindmilk. The foremilk is more liquidy like a drink, and the hindmilk is more full like food. So if you take the baby off too soon, you're going to miss the hindmilk for the baby. So you want to keep the baby on the breast until they come off. And I always say the baby comes off sleeping, unless you need to get them to nurse on the other breast because the other breast is bugging you, I would let them sleep. That's just me, But if they come off and they're awake, go ahead and burp your baby and then offer the other breast, And just remember which breast you started on. If you started on the left, next time make sure you start on the right because the more aggressive sucking will be in the beginning of the feed, right?
Yes.
But there's no need to take the baby off at 10 minutes or even necessarily offer both breasts at every feed. If the baby falls asleep at the breast, I don't bother to give him the other side unless I need relief. I need the baby to empty the other side.
Right. And it's not necessary. Like you said, their stomachs are small. So, and your breast is actually supplying just enough milk for them. If you're eating well, have a healthy diet and you're feeding your baby on demand,
and
not on a schedule, not yet. And you're hydrated.
You need to stay hydrated. That's huge as well.
Yeah, staying hydrated and feeding on demand. Don't get alarmed if some people say eating constantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to motherhood.
Yes, welcome to motherhood. The other part of it.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Breastfeeding is a beautiful time. Enjoy it. Alhamdulillah. It's a wonderful time to bond with the baby.
I mean, I know with formula feeding, it's typically based upon convenience and also thinking that your baby is not getting enough. A lot of times you feel like I'm just not getting enough milk for my child. Inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely. Brother Sake, about your back.
Yes, I am, but I'll just listen. I don't want you to ruin the show. I'll just join you just to be physically here.
Yeah, well, we're actually finishing up the topic. Mashallah wasn't without the translation. It cut down the time, but we're just encouraging women to breastfeed immediately after giving birth. The benefit to the mother is that it also provides her with the oxytocin that will allow her uterus to contract. Having that stimulation from the baby breastfeeding makes her uterus contract. And because we know postpartum hemorrhage is an issue in the Gambia, we need as many possibilities, ways to increase a woman's uterus to go back down. And so by having her breastfeed immediately, this is another way to encourage that.
The
natural process of, having a uterus shrink. So alhamdulillah, and also for the baby, it's that immediate bonding that it needs with its mother. We don't want to increase the stress level in the baby when they're first born by taking them away from their mother and putting them in a state of fear and stress and,
there's actually stress hormones.
Hormones
that we're introducing into the baby's bloodstream when we put the baby in a state of stress.
Yes.
A baby's if your baby's immediate sounds are wah, 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 and it's 2, 3, 5 minutes, that's horrible. The baby should be right here on the breast and just peaceful and calm and got mama's spot. That's his place. Right there on the breast.
So you mean the baby shouldn't be washed or anything? They should just let the baby breastfeed first.
Go straight to mom, right? We can wash the baby later. And trust me, the mother is in such a state of oxytocin. she's not really going to care that the baby's sticky and gooey right now. The whole birth is sticky and gooey. So what? You know, we can watch the baby later.
Right.
You know, if you don't point out to her, oh, your baby's sticky and gooey, she doesn't really care at that moment. You know, after about a half an hour, 45 minutes, when the oxytocin rush comes down and the baby's breastfed, then she's like, ew, yuck, I want to take a shower. You know, like somebody bathed my baby. I'm going to go clean myself, you know. But it's not like it, you know, getting the baby cleaned up or the mom even, you know, cleaned up should not be our first priority, you know.
And one thing I should mention is like the first hour, the baby is the most alert. So subhanAllah, like taking the baby away from the mom during the first hour, you know, you're decreasing that window, you're closing that window of opportunity to initiate breastfeeding, which is really, really important for women and babies. And so by the time the baby get back to the mom after having that nice warm bath, they're like, I'm knocked out for some hours. And the mom is like, that's good for me because I'm also tired.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we need to leverage that first hour. We call it the golden hour, and we really need to leverage that time. So
all right. So that's within an hour window, you mean?
Yes, that should be mom and baby's hour undisturbed. You know, so long as the baby doesn't have some massive complication, like he's not breathing or something, that first hour really should be undisturbed. So
and it should be
so you mean it also helps in terms of, you know, cutting the blood loss, you know, once
for the mother, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Reduces blood loss for the mother, and it gives the baby his right to, you know, to his mother. That the baby's only instinct at birth is to find the breast. Let's not take that away from him.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think this is quite important. You know, hopefully, those of us who will have the experience and will be able to put this knowledge into practice.
Well, and here's the thing: if moms know, and they can put it into a birth plan and talk to their doctor about it ahead of time, and enough moms start asking for their rights and for these. We're talking about evidence-based care here. We're not talking about, you know, weird stuff. We're talking about what is in the evidence. Then, you know, practices and hospitals will start to change. We have to raise awareness. You know, and some hospitals, I'm sure, and doctors and midwives are doing a great job. You know, they know, but some maybe don't. So you know, I don't know what the practices are from one doctor or one hospital to another. But, you know, in places where we're taking babies away, we need to rethink that. Why are we doing that? And is that within evidence-based? And is it supporting the best care for mom and baby? You know, so.
No, I mean, sometimes challenging a routine thing that people are used to doing, they think that you are just trying to challenge them for their job. So they don't see it in good light most of the time. So, for instance, they want to take the baby away, and you said, no, please leave my baby to breastfeed. They might say, what? These parents are weird. They will say use words like that.
Because we're weird. It's okay. Let them think that we're weird. You know,
and then telling them, oh, don't cut my baby's umbilical cord because I want to time it for 3 minutes. So
yeah, they might look like you have a third eye, but you know, it's okay. And the thing is the first person that asked for it, it might be a struggle, and the second person, the sixth person, it's like, what is this hype? And then by the time you get 20 people in, it's like, what's going on? And then eventually you start to get the doctors looking into more, you know, why are people asking for this and what's the evidence? In fact, I had a doctor who took the AMANI training recently, and she was like, you know, I want to know why are women coming in and saying they don't want this or they don't want that. I don't understand. And we took the workshop, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize all this stuff I was doing that, you know, is actually more harmful.
So
than
you just really have to push it and, you know, make sure that this is, you know, given as a as a practice, you know.
It's grassroots efforts. When moms know and they ask for evidence, and more of them start to ask for evidence, then you get more and more doctors looking into what is this all about. So, you know, we make changes through grassroots efforts. So
I think it needs some strength and you know, quite a personality to you know, sort of stand up for things like this, because obviously, you know, if people have completely different understanding, now you are trying to really make them do this, you know, as you said, it will need a grassroots movement, you know, to get this into, so.
But this is why, like early on when you're learning, so if women can get this information and knowledge early on in their pregnancy, they have time to learn it and to discuss it with their doctor. So when you're in your prenatal visits, your antenatal visits, you bring these topics up and say, what are your opinions on this? What are your thoughts on this? Well, I would like to try this, you know, and I've read studies or evidence to say this is, you know, this type of, you know, process is not necessary immediately after giving birth. I would like to keep my baby, or I would like to delay the cord clamping. just have these talks. And your doctor doesn't expect for you to talk to them like on another medical doctor level, but they should be able to understand you expressing your feelings and your concerns. And any medical provider know that they're there to serve their community. So if you're reaching out to them respectfully, you're respectful, and you're just showing concern for you and your child, which you have that right to do.
And you're bringing your evidence.
Then inshallah, Allah will provide a way for you. But the thing is, don't sit and be quiet.
Right.
No, what I'm saying is, in a situation like this, you might not really, be able to present an evidence. So that's another challenge, because you are in a bad, sort of situation whereby a child has been born and perhaps it's not like a normal situation as such. So
well, may Allah make a way for us, because when we're doing the thing that is right and that is, evidence-based and actually founded back in Islam, like when we do the right thing, then subhanAllah, Allah opens doors. So we need to keep in dua, keep in istiqara, make sure that our intentions are for the right, for the right thing, for the sake of Allah. All right, so we're coming up almost on a half an hour, so I want to close. Let's go ahead and remind people they can get their free online secrets book from AMANIBirth.online, and also that they can like and share our channel and our videos so that people can, inshallah, get this out to other mothers that are in the Gambia, and around the world for that matter. And the more mothers that we can reach, the better effect that we can have, inshallah. So thank you both for your time, and I'll see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, inshallah.